My name is Rachel Clark. I'm a registered dietitian and a clinical assistant professor here at Purdue University. So caffeine is a naturally occurring compound found in the leaves and the seeds of many plants. Doses up to 400 milligrams are generally regarded as safe for adults, and they're not associated with higher risk of chronic disease like heart disease or cancer. So typically, an 8-ounce cup of coffee has about 100 milligrams of caffeine, although that will vary somewhat depending on how it's brewed. On product labels, like the coffee beans that you buy at the store or at a cup of coffee at a coffee shop, you're probably not going to find the amount of caffeine listed. And that's because the caffeine in coffee or tea, for example, is naturally occurring. When caffeine is naturally occurring, it's not required to be listed on the label. On the other hand, if a product like a pre-workout supplement or an energy drink has caffeine added, like they very often do, that amount has to be disclosed on the label. Caffeine is a stimulant, so it does have stimulant effects, meaning that it increases our mental alertness, for example, though probably not to the extent that adequate sleep would. Some people feel anxious or jittery, irritable, and have trouble sleeping if they consume too much caffeine. A lot of caffeine at one time can temporarily increase your blood pressure or even cause heart palpitations. Even lesser amounts of caffeine can have significant negative effects for those folks who are unaccustomed to caffeine intake. And especially if those non-users have a cardiovascular condition or an anxiety disorder, those can both be aggravated by caffeine. So this won't be news to many people out there, but if a regular user of caffeine stops consuming it, there are likely to be short-term withdrawal kinds of symptoms like headaches. And that's a result of a physical dependence. And that physical dependence is an ordinary biological consequence, similar to when you have to gradually wean off of a medication, for example, that you've been taking for a while instead of a hard stop. But if you're feeling like you have to have caffeine to keep going or just to have an okay day, it's really time to reconsider how much and when you're consuming that caffeine. Sometimes disorders like insomnia or an eating disorder can make stopping or decreasing your caffeine intake even harder. If you do want to reduce your intake of caffeine, do it gradually. Maybe try a lower caffeine beverage like tea or decaffeinated coffee. Think about a replacement beverage that'll be satisfying to you also. For example, if you are a hot coffee drinker so much that you drink it even in the summer, you might find that another hot beverage could be equally satisfying.